So guys, welcome back. It's your guy Igor here. I want to tell you in this video why you are not going to get a job if you are not yet in Canada. By the way, that expensive Corvette there, that's not my car, but I do appreciate expensive cars. Guys, I was just watching some videos, I was watching the channel, famous popular channel amongst Indian community, Dream Abroad. And I was listening to what the guy had to say, tips to get job in Canada and stuff like that. And one thing the guy said, if you're not in Canada, you can fake your phone number and call an employer. Basically, you fake your phone number by buying some services so it looks like you are in Canada, you put it on your resume, and that's going to increase chances of you getting a call back. Well, what he is not saying in that is, if you do that and the employer is going to find out that you faked your phone number, guess what? There is so much of scam calls going on in Canada. People misrepresenting themselves as the revenue agency, trying to cheat Canadians. And majority of those calls come from, guess where? India and Pakistan. So if you have a slightest accent and someone finds out that you faked the phone number, they are going to hang up and never consider you for that position. Please don't do that, because people here are already pissed off with all the phone scams. So if you fake your phone number, you are definitely not getting a job here. Have you heard of a term, Canadian work experience? It's one thing that Canadians really like. For me personally, I think that's nonsense. Canadian work experience. If you're a web developer and you know Java, does it not mean that if you didn't work in Canada, do you still not know Java? Like, I'm just telling you, if you are a computer programmer, you know some language, you have some skills, it's everywhere the same thing, and same education program, same terms. So when they say Canadian work experience, I don't like it. But if you're not in Canada, probably you don't have it. And it's going to decrease chances of you getting a job here, regardless of how skillful you are and how many years of work experience you have back home. I also have tons of videos where I'm telling you how to get a job in Canada. But guys, I want to be a little bit more realistic. There are very few people who do get jobs when they are not in Canada from outside. So this video is just to target that 99% of people who are probably not going to get a job in Canada out of Canada. Next reason is Canadian education. If you don't have Canadian education, your education most likely is not going to be recognized in Canada, unless it's from that Ivy school or league of schools, and from some US, Australia, New Zealand, UK, somewhere from those bigger countries, more developed. If you're coming from a third world country and you have education, it's good as nothing, because some people here manage to be corrupt and they fake their education and they pissed off lots of people in Canada. So there is a chance that you might not have actually studied. It's based on the bad experience with some other immigrants who did shady things, has nothing to do with you. So if you are saying, well, I have master's degree, and you're applying for jobs, it's just same as you don't have anything. And if you don't have Canadian experience, work experience to support it, then you're totally screwed. Another reason not to hire you for the employers is that you're not allowed to work in Canada. Guess what? You want to work in Canada? You need to have a work permit, or at least a student visa that allows you to work part-time, or you have to be on a permanent residency, living in Canada, or citizen. So you have to be legally allowed to work in Canada, otherwise employers cannot hire you. What they can do, and they do it very rarely, they could apply for LMIA, sponsor you to come here. So they would have to submit an interest to the government, try to hire someone from Canada on your position and say we couldn't find it, give you tons of money and say that they want to sponsor you, and the government has to approve it. And only then they'll give you a work permit and you can come and work for that employer. That's the only way if you're not allowed to work. Or the other way is my way, as international student, graduate, get a work permit. So short thing is this: you need to be able to legally work in Canada. It's not Dubai, it's not Qatar. You don't just get a job and come here. It's not like that. you cannot come here and work without the permission of the government or by just submitting your job offer. There has to be a sponsorship. It's really freaking complicated. Next thing, guys, is unemployment rate in Canada. In Calgary, where I live right now, it's about, I heard last time it was about 70,000 unemployed people. 70,000 Canadians are searching for jobs. They are applying, that's by the way my bag there, they are applying for jobs just like you do to get the same kind of position, and they cannot. And it takes some people like a year to get a good job that they are skilled for, qualified for, unless they go for something less while they're searching for something that they have to get. All I'm saying is it's really tough for Canadians to find a job, and it's even tougher for you to find a job. First of all is they cannot call you for an interview because you are not in Canada. Time zone is different, so you have to do a Skype interview. You have to be immensely qualified or talented individual, famous in your field, to, you know, for them to get some interest, to get you here, to close their eyes for all the people that are already here and say, yes, I'm going to sponsor you to come here and work for me. And it's not a joke, it's really difficult. So majority of the people, they are not going to get callbacks because they are out of the country. I'm saying there are people from other provinces applying, for example, from Alberta to Toronto, from Toronto to Alberta, and to Vancouver. Between provinces, they would prefer not to hire a person from another province because they have to relocate, you know, there's moving expenses, there's lots of headache. And plus, a person who moves to a different province might not like it there and then eventually quit. I'm not even talking about coming from another country. So the chances of getting through this is very slim, and it's not that easy. Alright guys, I hope I demotivated you enough to stop searching for jobs. Well, you don't stop, okay? You don't listen to this demotivation, because I've been talking on this channel so many things about motivation. Make sure you are motivated enough to get a job. There are so many ways you can actually get a job. Instead of focusing and trying to find a job in Canada, focus on doing your permanent residency. Go and submit an application for express entry if you want to come here. Once you're allowed to work in Canada, that's no longer a restriction. You can come here and start working. Employers don't have to sponsor you, so they're more likely to hire you. That's when you start applying those skills like Western style of resumes, you know, Canadian work experience. You can get even Canadian education for cheaper. If you cannot get through express entry pool, try to go as international student and see if you can study in Canada. If you can get Canadian education to increase your points for immigration, to give you an opportunity to get Canadian work experience, because after graduation you are allowed to work for a certain amount of years depending on how many years you studied. All I'm saying, guys, there are so many ways. Just don't focus on one thing. I'm applying for jobs, and you know, it's going to be very difficult, and if you do get some interviews, it's going to end up coming to a stage, are you allowed to work? Can you come here? Employers don't want to figure it out. They don't want to have this headache of sponsoring people unless you're very talented. So the chances, as I say, very slim. It's very difficult. It's very difficult, and if you're one of the lucky individuals who got like that, congrats. I'm really happy for you. You're one out of a million probably, and maybe 100,000, I don't know, who did it. But otherwise, focus your efforts on something else rather than spamming employers by just saying, hey, I need a job, and there are so many ways you can get here way faster and better. Go through an immigration stream, see if you can get education. And of course, I don't discourage you, still go ahead and apply for a few jobs, go ahead and test it out for a few months, and then if I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong on this, and you get a job and you get sponsored, then, you know, just leave a comment, Igor, you were wrong. And if I was right, you know, guys, and my wife would disagree, but I usually am right. Guys, we'll see you in next video. Don't be demotivated by this one. I just want to be open. You know, I'm not here to, you know, make everything like pink sunglasses, you know, everything is nice, unicorns running, and everyone gets tons of money. You come to Canada, you get a house, you get a car, you get a job, and you know, and you get a boat that you can sail in the Caribbean Sea and enjoy some whiskey. No, guys, it's not like that. It's lots of hard work and broken dreams for lots of people. And I want your dreams to be successful, so don't want to exceed your expectations. So you come here like you're going to get everything for free, and then you'll be like, hey Igor, you told me to come here and now I'm screwed. Well, now you know. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope this information helps you out. And those of you who are able to, you know, stand up and get to what they want, we'll see you in Canada. Have a good one, guys.